excited you're all here, and happy October. Woohoo! So excited. I love October. Okay. My timeline is going to go on to Power Hours Facebook page. Do I still have everybody on here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Make sure I didn't lose you guys. Zoom has been acting a little bit weird for me lately, so. Okay. One more second, guys. Thanks for your patience. All right. We should be good to go. We in about 2 seconds here. Super excited. Let's do this. So quiet. I usually have music or the kids running around in the background. So quiet. It's kind of weird. I like it though. Okay, so we have a speaker today, and it's welcome to Empower Hour Sacramento. We're so excited to see you today. It's October. Woo, go October. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the amazing speaker we have today. It's Deanne Deaville. I know I'm screwing up your name. I'm so sorry, Deanne. She is a wellness coach and a clinical nutritionist. She draws from her wide variety of life experiences and training, which includes an extended sailing sabbatical across the Pacific Ocean, running a capital equipment business, and more. So please help me welcome Miss Deanne.
Thank you. It was about 3 years ago now that I woke up one morning just absolutely exhausted, just to my core, just exhausted. And it had been that way every day for about a week, even though I had been sleeping well, sleeping plenty of hours. Now, there's something wrong. I go in cycles as far as, my work schedule, and I knew I was coming off of a busy cycle. So it's normal to feel really exhausted. But after a good week or even 2 weeks, it's like, yeah, I'm fully recovered and I'm totally recharged and I feel fine. But this wasn't happening. And I was laying in bed, just having this exhaustion and thinking, there's something wrong. And, I know the risks. I'm a nutritionist. I know the risks of total burnout and just going all the time. And I saw the signs, and yet I forged ahead. And then that morning, I found the lump. And that was a kind of a game changer, right? But again, I was just forging ahead with life because I didn't know what else to do at that point, right? And this is what happens in life. And it doesn't always happen this way. In fact, when we're younger, things seem to be on track. And in my life actually started out kind of like a fairy tale. I had a fantastic marriage to a wonderful man. We did, like Stephanie just mentioned, I did an extended sailing sabbatical. We sailed off into the proverbial sunset. And it was not an easy life, even though it sounds romantic, but it was fantastic. And we had, so many adventures of scuba diving with giant manta rays and dolphins and all kinds of amazing stories. And then we return home to the Bay Area in California, and we buy a house and we start a business and we have children, and it's like the American dream. And then, of course, there's challenges with that. As the kids are growing, we're busy, there's animals, there's school, there's activities, there's all kinds of things. And with a business, there's fluctuations in the economy and things are going up and down and things, out of our control. And of course, then there's animals too, just such a full life. But really it's about, life just keeps going one after the next. And I just was kind of going through the motions and I felt somewhat disconnected. And then fast forward through even more fluctuations over the years. And as things continued to get more and more challenging, and then my husband, descending into total alcoholism, I'd say before my eyes, but it was a long, slow process. But, I kept thinking, well, if I just do this, or if I just do this, if I respond better, then I can change it. And it just kept going and going and snowballing. Fast forward a few years after that, and he ended up losing his life. And it's through alcoholism and bipolar and schizophrenia and all kinds of really tragic events that occurred. And then fast forward just 2 years later, and I find this lump. And I'm thinking, what the heck? How did this happen to me? Like I said, I know the signs, I know the risks, and I know what to do. And I walk the talk. I eat right, I exercise, and I do the right things, right? Yeah. So those first few weeks, there's a lot of contemplation, serious contemplation and reflection on my life. Like, how does this happen to me? In cancer, it can affect everybody, we know, but as far as all the demographics go, I'm in the lower risk category, right? So I'm really starting to reflect, how does this happen to me? And thinking in terms of my life, where I started and how things went and how I strayed. And wow, did I stray so far from my values, from who I was? I'm still the same person, yet I'm not. And so this really led me to the current path that I've been on now for a couple of years. And this is what I call living healthy by heart. We know that nutrition and exercise are important. Yes, they're game changers. They're not to be discounted. They are important. But there's so much more to life and to health than just nutrition and exercise. Now, I tell you this story that I've just relayed to you, not to get any sympathy whatsoever, but more as a wake-up call, as a lesson. This can happen to any of us. And I don't want people to follow in my path. I mean, in a lot of ways, cancer has been a gift for me, but it's been a high cost. And so I'm hoping to share some information here that will be helpful. And, up until that point in my life, I was, like I said, I was going through the motions. I was reacting. I kind of lived life from a victim standpoint, even though I never believed I was a victim. Of course, I'm in control of my circumstance. We're empowered women today. And, I'm not a victim. I'm making the right decisions, but yet I was still reacting to every moment that was happening. I was not living my life strategically by my values, by my core. So again, this ties back into what I've been working on, what I call the healthy by heart concept. And there's a lot to it, but I'm just going to give you today the ABCs, quite literally. A, the letter A, there's a couple of words for A. One is authenticity. We tend to, in this society, look externally and think, what can I do out there that is going to be fulfilling in the world, that I can earn a living, etc. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's resonating with us. And we, especially as women, we put on these masks every day of like, who should I be? How should I present myself to the world? In the very basic way, we do it with makeup, but in other ways, when we're talking with people and we have to project, where we feel like we need to project about I'm a perfect mom, or I have this persona. And I did this for years, covering up because of shame. I was covering up the life that I was leading because I thought, I don't want people to see what's happening. And we do this, we wear these masks and we're not living in our authenticity. And it's really important. A is also for alignment. We need to be in alignment with who we are. It goes hand in hand with authenticity. And sometimes we don't necessarily know who we are anymore because we keep looking externally. We forget. We don't go back inside. It's not part of our culture. We're not trained to, we're not taught to, and we're expected to do things for others, especially once again as women. Which then brings me to B. The letter B, couple words again. Being is one. We are, by definition, we are human beings. And yet, really, when you look at if you, if you zoomed way up miles above the earth and you looked at all these little creatures running all around, you'd say, these aren't human beings, these are human doings. We're really good at doing. We are so good at efficiency and productivity, and we get up and then we make our task list and we check them off. And it feels good. We get this dopamine hit. We feel good about ourselves. We're good at doing. And then oftentimes, again, especially women, at the end of the day, we're exhausted. We stop doing and we just collapse, and we're exhausted and we fall asleep. And we don't really take the time to be a human being. We aren't really in our being. And this relates back to authenticity and in our alignment, who we are. And it's really important to contemplate and just take time and just be, and forget all the efficiency and productivity and all those tasks that can hijack your life without you even realizing it, and just be. And the other B word is breath. We're not taught to breathe. I mean, that just sounds so ridiculous, right? We have all kinds of amazing systems that occur in our body automatically and naturally without any thought whatsoever. We don't tell our heart to beat. We don't tell the blood to pump through the veins. We don't teach ourselves to breathe. It's part of our autonomic nervous system. And yet, again, in our society of human doings, when we're go, go, go all the time, this is slowly raising our level of stress. And humans have an amazing ability to adapt to stress. It's called general adaptation syndrome. And what's the normal and healthy level when we're really young? As we get older and we have these life experiences and we're doing more, this level slowly rises. And if we don't ever get back to that being in the breath and bringing it back down, our natural level, what we feel is normal for us, starts to rise. But breathing is the key to bringing that back down. So again, we don't think about breathing. We don't talk about it really. We don't teach it. Many people who do yoga, of course, understand the importance of breath. But it's one of those things, well, when you're doing yoga, you breathe properly then. And then when you get in the car and you're driving to the office or to work or wherever, we forget. We're thinking about what are we going to do when we get there? We're thinking about the drivers around us, who's cutting us off or whatever. We're not thinking about being in the moment and breathing and living in who we are in our authentic self. Breath is a game changer. And one of the great things about meditation and learning to meditate is not for the 20 minutes that you're sitting on the cushion so much as the general adaptation syndrome. Again, it brings it down and it makes it more habitual in our life. And this is what we want. We want to take breathing to a higher level, a more healthy level, and make it more habitual. And that takes a concerted effort. And one of the ways that you can just do a quick check without judgment on how your stress level and your being is if you put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And I think somebody's driving right now, so don't do it now, not two hands. But you can put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and just breathe normally. And just see which hand is moving. Is it the hand on your chest or is it the hand on your belly? We are all born belly breathers. When we are first born as babies, we breathe into our belly. We breathe fully and deeply. Our lungs get filled all the way to the bottom, filled with capacity. And then as we experience these life stresses, we start to breathe more shallow. In fact, a lot of times when we're under stress, we not only just breathe shallowly, but we hold our breath in spurts. And it's a normal thing to do as far as our adaptation. But once again, if we keep having these stressful moments, one after the next, and our level of stress, our normal stress is here, our lung capacity shrinks. And there's a direct correlation to how much air that our lung capacity can hold to our longevity in life. So breath is extremely important. Take time every day just to focus on your breath, and then be. And this is when you can really fully be in your alignment, in your authenticity, and just take this time for yourself every day, a few times a day. Only takes a few minutes. Okay, C, the letter C. 2 words again. And the first one is commitment. We have such busy lives, and this practice, and it is a practice, it takes commitment. It's not something we say, well, gee, I failed today, so therefore I'm just going to give up. It's a practice. We do it the best we can, day after day after day, and we just try to set reminders. You know, some people put post-notes around on their mirror, in their car, on the fridge, whatever. It doesn't matter, whatever it takes to set up some reminders for yourself, but commit to this process. It's really about commitment to you. It's really, once again, committing back to who you are and your authenticity, your alignment, and your being. It's a commitment to you. And then the other C word is courage. Living a life like this takes a lot of courage. Once again, it's not just for women, but a lot, I feel it's more so with women, but a lot of kids today, like entering college, they're looking at what the most lucrative field is. What should I get my degree in? How will I make money? And to go against that, to go against what, you know, what people say you should do, and do what feels right for you and your being, in your authentic alignment, that takes a lot of courage. And now whether that's for college or anything else, maybe you're looking at starting a business and you can have these business plans and you should do this and you should do that. It takes courage to do what you feel is right for you. And the word courage stems from the word core, you know, which is right here. This is our heart, our core. And, you know, there's a lots of idioms and, you know, sayings about where, you know, the heart of a lion, and I know in my heart, and there's so many idioms about the strength of our heart. And it does take courage. It takes, you know, courage to communicate your beliefs as well. So this is the ABCs, but yet, you know, they're plural. So therefore there's an S on the end. So one more word. And that is surrender. Surrender is a funny word because, you know, when I first heard it, it's like, I don't surrender. I don't give up. I'm not a quitter. You know, I fight. But surrender is not about that. Surrender is about knowing the things, you know, that have already happened, have already happened. You cannot change that. Surrender to what has already been. You know, and in my example, I have to surrender to the fact that, yeah, my life did not turn out the way that I had expected it all the way along. And I lost my husband, and I ended up with cancer and all that. I cannot change that. All I can change is from this day forward. And I can ruminate of what I should have done differently. And sometimes it's helpful in that we can learn from our past mistakes and make better changes. But most of the time we ruminate on, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have been better, I should have been smarter, and we end up just shooting all over ourselves, and we feel badly about ourselves. And this is not helpful at all. This brings our energy down. It's not helpful it's not healthy at all for our heart. But it's so common. So surrender to what has already happened. We cannot change that. Not even try. We want to make better choices for the future. And the way we do that is by knowing who we are and living in our authentic alignment, being that person, breathing all the time, and committing to this process. It's really important. And it's different for everybody, of course. And today, you know, more than any other time in our global history, I really believe, and I mean, I don't know that anybody would deny this, with everything that's going on, we are at a major, major crossroads right now. We are seeing things that are impacting our world like never before. And so at this point, I have a call to action for women everywhere. Women, we need to fully emerge and step into our potential. I think that women can do this in a way that nobody else can do. In fact, the Dalai Lama said it in an interview last year that, you put two boys together in a room, and even if they're friends, they'll still, fight, they'll play fight or whatever, because that's what boys do. But you put two women together in a room and they make peace, because they have love in their hearts, they have compassion. And that's what our world needs to change. And women today are the game changers. In the last 50 years, we've made huge strides as far as, more rights. And we've seen, I'm 55 now, and I've seen so many changes in my lifetime. It's amazing what was going on 50 years ago to today. And it is so much better. However, not only are we not really where we should be and want to be, but we've been playing by a set of rules that we didn't set up. But we said, you know what, I can do this, I can get a college degree, I can work, I can have a career, I can do all of these things. But those are rules set up by a different culture and a different paradigm. And I believe that women are different, and that even though we've had a seat at this table now for a few years, we're at the wrong table. We need to just uplift that table and move to a different player, play a different game, and set up our own rules. Women do things differently. And today there's more women college graduates than men. Women are the primary breadwinners in the United States. More businesses are started and run by women today. We are the future, but we do play it differently, and we should not continue to compete in the same way that we have been. And some of the differences are, and this group is an amazing example that Stephanie has set up. This group is about collaboration. It's about women supporting each other. Women collaborate. Competition isolates. So women are, this is more collaborative. It is inclusive, not divisive. When you divide and you're creating one winner kind of thing, that's a more patriarchal way of doing business. And sure, you can make a lot of money. However, this isn't about that. This is about changing our world. Women are more fluid over a rigid type of energy. It's more about growth and nurturing. I mean, think uterus. We are the way that life grows and flourishes, right? The energy that we work in is more circular. It's not linear. Goal setting is linear, which is really helpful for when, today, I'm going to do this and this. Goals are great, but then it's time to step back and once again, go into your alignment, your authenticity, and make sure you're doing what you're doing for the right reasons, and stay true to your values. I really feel that this is so important. In fact, I wasn't even really aware of, what values living really was until recently, when I've been studying this a lot more, and I went through a training, etc. But it's really everything. If we forget what our values are and don't look at them on a regular basis, this is how our life gets hijacked. And once again, it's to be courageously authentic in our life and know our values and breathe into our being, commit to this process, commit to really, it's our purpose. And I think that it is the way that our planet and our global change is, things are going to change, and we are the change. And so I just leave you with this. For all you women out there, really, we are the change that we wish to see in the world. And just go do it in the way that you can, in your particular way, not the way it looks like you should do out there, but what is calling to you, and it will be right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. So I know I personally love that. And I love that you did ABCs with an S. I think that was super cute. I actually took notes as you were talking. And what I found really interesting is that something you had said that really struck to me was, is kind of, well, really the whole thing, but really the biggest thing for me was, breathe and really being. So I'm really good at achieving tasks and going to that next level, but sometimes I forget to be like, oh yeah, I should, relax for 5 minutes, or, whatever, for myself. So, oops, sorry, that's my work people. So yeah, so I found this extremely helpful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, did anybody have any questions or anything like that?
This is Jennifer. I just want to say thank you so much, Dan, for your insight and your wisdom in this area, and for being transparent in the challenges that you have had in your health and just emotionally, and some things that you've gone through. We love sharing in this with you and hearing about your story and your testimony. But I also wanted to speak to, you used a word that coincidentally I had actually posted about this morning, and the word was nurturing. And I had posted, it's just coincidentally, I posted this morning that we as women we're meant to be nurturers. And it's, we really need to get back to that and add that, even more so into this world. And how do we do that? We do that by surrounding ourselves with women who have those same goals and those same wants and aspirations. And remembering through the ABC acronyms, or through, just networking and making these commitments to one another, to really building connections and meaningful connections, and talking out loud about our testimonies, talking out loud about how we can nurture and, be a part of one another's lives in that aspect, and hold each other accountable to make sure we remain nurturers. So I love that word nurturer, and nurturing. I love it. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, nurturing is very important, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really is, to me, one of the main differences in how we as women can be, in that we are nurturers, we are collaborators, and we've been raised in this culture about competition, to stomp on the other people, so we ourselves are above them. But we know in this group, and this is why Stephanie started this group, is that it's not about bringing other people down so we look a little higher. It's about bringing us all up. And we can do that, and it will change the world, and all of us benefit in the process of it.
Absolutely, absolutely, I love it. All right, did anybody else want to say anything else, or have any other insights they would like to bring up? Thank you, Jen, for that.
I do. I'm sorry, Denise here, and Deanne, thank you for the speech this morning. And I really could relate to that, especially with all the things that are going on in my life right now. But one of the things that I find is that I listen to this, and it's like, yes, I need to be true to myself. I need those ABCs. And then I get caught up in the everyday things of life all over again. And it's just too easy to fall into this trap. Part of it is routine. Part of it is just because we have busy lives and we have to make a living and families to take care of. So, what about implementation? I'm not trying to, how do we do that? How do we implement this? What's a good next step?
Yeah.
And thank you very much.
And that's a really good question. And that's why I said this is a process. This is not like a one and done. You just turn this switch on, because that's, wouldn't that be lovely to just turn on the light and that's it? But it is a process. And so why I say it comes back to values is that it's really about knowing who you are, what's important to you, so that when you're faced with something, that you can make a better decision, not a reaction to that immediate, unless it's an immediate threat. If your house is on fire, you don't contemplate your values like, but my house is really, no, you get out, right? Survival trumps everything. But when you're not in that absolute survival mode, it's really important to reflect on what's the right way to respond for you, not necessarily, and it's good to get opinions from other people, but it's really about what is the most important to you. And this is why I think knowing your values so that you can work from these values is really important. And I'll just say that if anybody is so inclined and interested, you can go to my website, healthybyheart.com, and right at the top, there's a link to take a free personal values assessment. And you would just go through and do this assessment. The results go to you. I don't see them, but it can be helpful. And in shedding some light, and then I'll provide more information on how to interpret those. But so Denise, to your question, it's really about contemplating a better response for the long term from the place of who you are. Again, when survival's at stake, you do what is necessary in that very moment so you survive. But beyond that, we have to start looking more longer term. In my case, I was reacting to the business, the collapsing or the economic changes, and I was like, what do we do now? What do we do now? And it was no long-term thought, thinking, you know what, this actually isn't even the business that I want to be in. Or with my husband being an alcoholic, it's like, I looking back at that now, I should have left sooner. But I really thought, this is my soulmate. This is the person I'm going to stay with the rest of my life. I loved him dearly. There's no question. It will get better. Things will change. The economy will change. Things will change so much that I don't have to do anything. And I'm sorry, Denise, I'm kind of doing this roundabout answer, but it's at that moment, if I had really reflected on my values and who I am and what was the most important to me, and of course my kids were important, and my husband was, but I couldn't change that. And so coming back even lower to a more visceral and guttural value that I could actually change and reflect on, I would have made changes sooner had I done that. So again, it's going back to knowing what is truly important from you and operating from that. And it is hard. This is a process. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely did. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. You're amazing.
Thank you.
And did anybody have any other questions or anything else that they wanted to bring up at this time? Or have any other comments? Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much. You did a phenomenal job. Oh, sorry, you wanted to say something?
I have one more. I see in the chat here, I said, as we get older, we change and we grow. And this is very true. So our values that were very important to us when we were 15 or 20 or 25 years old are different than they are today. In fact, when I do that values assessment, 3 years ago when I first did it is very different than it is today, because yes, life situations do change, and it is based upon what is happening right now. So it's not like you just take it once and it's forever done. It's not a one and done kind of thing, because as we change and grow in life, yes, what we are working on, how we grow has changed. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for being here today. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you all have a phenomenal, phenomenal month. Hopefully you are able to join us on Tuesday at 6 p.m. for our Empower Hour Twilight. And thank you all, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye, guys.
Thank you. And happy birthday.
Thank you.
When is the actual day?